Well, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. It's I think so. We'll talk a little bit more into it, but if you want to introduce yourself, and we'll get started there.
Yeah. So my name is Blair Morris. I'm the franchise owner of Iron Tribe Fitness up here in North Alabama. Got 2 locations, one right next door at the Huntsville location, and then one out in Madison on County Line Road.
So I know you're a Birmingham native. You got your bachelor's degree from UAB. Talk a little bit about kind of what you went to study and kind of how you first kind of got actually introduced to Iron Tribe as a client.
Yeah. So I was had the opportunity to be a collegiate athlete. So played baseball in college. Originally, I went to Lipscomb University in Nashville. Then ended up, after my playing days were over, coming to UAB. Wanted to be a teacher and a coach.
Okay.
So that's what I thought my life passion was. Realized that it wasn't. And so got out and got into the sales world. Did multiple types of sales and moved around the Southeast a little bit with companies, settled in Birmingham. Put on a lot of weight, being in the sales industry, entertaining clients, just not paying attention to diet, nutrition, and not working out. I'd done it my whole life, and after I got done with college,
like, I'm never going to do this again.
Exactly. And the weight came on extremely fast. And then, believe it or not, a person that worked with my parents said, "Hey, there's this new concept called Iron Tribe. You need to come do it." And I said, no, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
And finally they got me in, and man, it changed my life. The direction, the course of my life. Great workout, tough workout, but the coaching and the camaraderie of, being in a group setting, it just appealed to me.
Yeah.
And then 2.5 years later, they started franchising, and I was 27 at the time. Knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but just didn't know where. And this brand changed my life, and it called to me, and so here we are.
Yeah. So I guess like Iron Tribe is from Birmingham. So like all of they have a couple different locations in the Birmingham area. But I guess when you started, there was no franchising. It really like began. So but now there's 40 something franchise locations across the country now.
That's right. Yeah. So when I think I attended the Highway 280 location in Birmingham, which was their second location, I believe at that time they had 3.
Okay.
In Birmingham, they've got 5 now.
Wow.
When we got on board, we were the 3rd franchise location. So one had gone to Atlanta, one was in Nashville, and then we opened up here.
Yeah.
Originally, we thought we were going to go to Memphis because that's where all my family's from and where I was born. And we realized that it's 4.5-hour ride. Are we relocating our family? And, I had done a lot of work in the Huntsville area in previous career. And it just seemed, and I kind of heard and knew that Huntsville was, an up and coming, city.
Because even 10 years ago, it was, 2013. It wasn't anywhere remotely near what it is today. So I graduated from high school in 2017, and it was, downtown wasn't really a thing. It had just kind of started blossoming, kind of started growing. DHI just started. But Huntsville was it was kind of like I guess at the time it was probably kind of a shot in the dark a little bit.
It was, there were certain demographics that we were looking for. Yeah. And it checked all of those boxes. Mm-hmm. And we did our due diligence and talked to a lot of real estate agents, and there, a lot of them were like, hey, just, you may be 5 to 10 years out, but it's going to pop.
Yeah.
Huntsville it's coming. It's coming. I don't know if they could have, said it grow like this
100%.
right. But they did say, hey, it's growing. So we found a location right off the railroad tracks in downtown. So we were there for about 8.5 years before we relocated over here to Lincoln Mill. And then we about a year after we opened our Huntsville location, we were out on County Line in Madison. So 10 years in Huntsville and 9 years in Madison.
Wow. So when you bring this concept to Huntsville, the Birmingham area had seen it. The Birmingham area was aware of it. When you opened the location first at right off of Clinton on the train tracks, was the success of opening the doors, like, did you just see members start coming, or did it take a little bit to kind of get this idea of Iron Tribe off the ground in Huntsville?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we thought that it would translate.
Yeah.
1.5-hour ride, Iron Tribe in Birmingham, wildly successful.
And Birmingham is very similar to Huntsville in a lot of ways. So you're like, okay, like the people are just going to be like, okay, Iron Tribe, got it.
Understand the concept. We know the name, we've heard it. And that was not true, right? So we really had to, what is this Iron Tribe thing? Well, they've been in Birmingham, open for 3 years. Now they're bringing it to Huntsville. What is it? who is it?
Yeah.
Who are the Morrises that are opening
Yeah.
up this concept up here? And it took a little while to get off the ground, but it's been it's been a success. A couple years in, we really hit our stride, and we've got. I think we have a great reputation around town for what we do, and that's what we strive to be.
Yeah,
we strive to be the best.
Do you think the location that you had right there off the train tracks, kind of right off 565, was a good spot to be at like as far as visibility? I mean, there was like, I think when y'all first opened, just driving by I wonder, Iron Tribe, it's like a fitness place. Like
that's right. Yeah.
And like that was my recollection. Like that's all I knew about it.
Yeah.
Was that it's right off the train tracks. You see it when you're driving on 565. And did that kind of help people at least kind of have the idea of like, let me stop by and find out more?
Absolutely. And if they never had stopped in, I've seen you guys.
Yeah.
I've seen you guys. Iron Tribe's it's a pretty destination place. Like you have to be looking for it, right?
100%.
Kind of at a boutique style gym.
Yeah.
But that visibility with the bay doors, if ever I've seen you guys off the Parkway. Now we relocated to Lincoln Mill, which I think would have been a little bit tougher to start here.
100%.
Because we're kind of in the back.
Yeah. But
now people know the name, and it's just a couple of driving directions, and here we are.
Yeah.
But that recognition, I mean, it even helped our Madison location. Oh, God, drive by you guys all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, like, I guess at the time when you opened, was there a lot of other like fitness gyms catering to sort of the same similar structure, 45-minute workouts, kind of that? Or were you one of, a handful that really were here in Huntsville at the time?
Yeah, we were part of a handful. At that point in time, group fitness hadn't taken off.
Yeah.
It's really become a commodity now. I mean, if you look around,
there's tons
from
anything from biking, just like, so like, I guess, I mean, like even at Lincoln Mill, we have 315 or I think it's right down there. You have, I mean, Zoom is pretty close to us too. Yeah. And there's tons of stuff at Stovehouse, tons of stuff downtown. I mean, there's just a wide variety from anything in between. But I think still, like, Iron Tribe kind of still is, it's different than most people, than other like fitness classes, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And one thing that we as a brand have always said is we're not gonna pinhole ourselves into, hey, this is the only way.
Yeah,
we're gonna adapt. And we launched our Prime program about 2 years ago, which has really changed the game for us, and a lot of people that were intimidated by coming into Iron Tribe, we have a program now that works perfectly for them. It also allows us to work with an older demographic, right? That need a lot of help and a lot of attention. So we kind of have the best of both worlds. We have a fun, kind of high intensity workout, if that's what you're looking for. But we also have personal training now that can really dive in and help somebody write programs specifically for them, right? Yeah. So we've got people in their 65s, 70s, even their 80s now, which 2 years ago they would have never walked in our doors. So Prime has really opened the thing, and that's been an innovation. And we're going to continue to adapt.
Yeah, and so I mean, I guess so. You have Prime and Power, kind of the two sort of courses. And you talked a little bit about Prime and kind of how it kind of was a entry point into a demographic you had not seen before at Iron Tribe. Talk a little bit about Power and sort of what someone could experience if they were to sign up and go to a Power class.
Yeah. So for Power class, it's a combination of strength training and cardio, kind of all built into one workout. I use the word relative. It's high intensity interval training, but what we do really well from a customer service side of things is taking that workout in Power and adapting it to the individual, right? Because your intensity level is going to be different than mine. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different than Sally's, than Susie's, right? Yeah. And also, taking a movement such as we do pull-ups. Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a lot of people that can do pull-ups, and we have a lot of people that can't. But that's okay, right? Yeah. It's all about progressing and getting better. And our coaches do a fantastic job of saying, okay, we're not where we need, we're not there yet. Here's the movement or alternative that we're going to do.
100%.
So it's a tight knit group community that's fun, right? But you don't have to be in shape to walk through the doors. And I think that's a big misconception is, I hear a lot of, I was intimidated to walk in. But once people get in the doors,
100%.
Oh, this isn't bad. Like, oh, okay, I can do this. I understand. Now they understand.
Yeah. And I think, so I mean, I guess what's cool, and I'm glad we're doing the podcast now, is I started doing Iron Tribe, I guess, in May. Yeah. And so I started in May. I was referred by a friend of mine, and we kind of were talking about, okay, like, let me jump into it. I really wasn't, for exercise for me was just running, and I very rarely actually ran, and so I always was like, I just don't have enough time to work out. And I think the Power classes for me were a good fit because they're 45-minute workouts, And in 45 minutes, you get a lot. Like I'll be after this recording, I'll be going over at 12:15 to work out.
Right.
And so it's like it's the 45-minute workout. You're doing a ton of exercise, and then you're like, okay, well the day's still like you have so much more of the day still left, but you're not feeling like you're like the class sizes can vary. I mean, I've been in classes by myself.
Yep.
And those are not very fun,
right?
Because then the coach is just looking at you, and you're like, "Well, can't slip up on anything." And then, or you have to go to classes where there's 6 or 12 people. I mean, like, there's a wide assortment of class options and time options to kind of fit anybody's schedule, which I think is a huge thing. I mean, you have classes start at 5 a.m.
Yep.
And they go till, what is it, 6:45, 6 o'clock?
7 is when the last session starts at 6:15. So we run. I mean, we pretty much run from 5 a.m. till 7. Every 45 minutes, and there's a couple of breaks during the day for a couple hours. But I mean, they're from like 10 to 11, and then from like 1 to 3, and then we're running sessions. So it really gives people the opportunity that are busy professionals to find a time, right? Because I hear that a lot is I don't have time, Blair. I have kids. I don't have time. How am I supposed to fit 3 workouts in? And it's like, hey, look, it's 45 minutes, let's factor in travel time. Okay, it's an hour.
Yeah.
Right. We have showers, so there's really try to make it to where there's no excuse of like, hey, you can find time. And the beauty of it is you can mix and match those times.
Yeah.
So I know you said you're doing 12:15 today. I know you do some 3:15s and some afternoons. And so there's a lot of flexibility. And everybody does the same workout. So that's the beauty of the power program as well is and you're with the same coaches.
Yeah.
So one thing that separates Iron Tribe is we only employ 2 trainers, and they work in shifts. So we don't have 10 different trainers that you may see a different trainer every time you're in the gym. It's literally 2. So that breeds a lot of familiarity with all the clients that we work with. So when you walk in the door, Macy is your trainer. Hey, Clark, how you doing, man? It's very relational.
Yeah, 100%.
And then she can also tailor that workout because she's gotten to work with you. Like, hey, I don't think we need to do this today. We need to do X, Y, and Z. Or, hey, I know maybe, again, pull-ups. Maybe we're not quite ready for pull-ups. You're going to do this. So they're prepared for you. And as soon as you walk in the door, it's tailored and you're off and rolling.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, too, is like, for me, it's the convenience for me. I mean, we're at Lincoln Mill. Right. I sit at my desk and I can see Iron Tribe. Yeah. So it was like, okay, like it worked perfectly for me. But I think the location, too, bodes well for a lot of people because you're right off of 565.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, you can get off at Oakwood and you're here in a few minutes.
That's right.
And so it's a good in-between for people for work. And like, there's people that in my classes at 3:15 that they're always at a 3:15 class.
Yeah.
Like and it's always kind of a weird when I work out at a different hour or a different time. It's like I don't know these people.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, it's like we're all doing the same workout, so we're all suffering together.
Right.
So it's like whatever, like I'll figure it out. But it's also cool too, like you said, if you're like when I started off in May, it was like I still don't like pull-ups, but really did not like pull-ups and was struggling with them. And then I think in the last 2 days ago, maybe I worked out, and I was like one of the first workouts that I did without the band and did pull-ups, and it was just like, okay, like you see that progression where
That's
like it's you almost forget that you actually are getting stronger because it's just something that you're doing, and then you realize you're doing that same workout you did 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you're like, wow, this workout's a lot easier than it was then.
Yeah, absolutely. And we try to do that with our programming. So a lot of our programming, it's not random, right? Yeah. So we operate in phases. We have test in workouts and test out workouts. So we want to track and measure because, look, working out's great. We want to be healthy, absolutely. But we also want to get results. Like that's the point. And I hear that a lot and have heard that a lot over 10 years in the industry as a gym owner, and then a couple years prior to being with Iron Tribe is, well, I can't get results and I'm struggling to get results, or I've done this and I've done that. I've done all these different things. Well, if you're not tracking, how do you know?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the things that I think we really do well is, hey, we're measuring your fitness and we're measuring, your nutrition, and we're tracking your weight and all of these things so that, oh man, it's hard, but I am getting better.
Yeah.
I am losing weight or I am getting stronger and things like that. And it's so important to be able to do those things.
Yeah. And so I think what's also a misconception too that I think I was wasn't really necessarily aware of is that there's a difference between what Iron Tribe is and what CrossFit is.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about kind of those differences for people that are listening that maybe just associate CrossFit with Iron Tribe.
Yeah. So CrossFit has done a fantastic job of branding.
Yeah.
Right. So if a kettlebell or a barbell is in a gym and that maybe they're moving it in a certain way, or you see a kettlebell swing, oh, you guys are doing CrossFit, right? Yeah. I love to use the example of tennis shoes. You have Nike and you have Under Armour. They're both tennis shoes, but they're two totally different brands, and they're doing things very differently, right? Yeah. So do we do some movements that you would see in a CrossFit gym? Absolutely. Okay. How we approach that is very different, right? We are our demographic is mostly 35 to 60, right? Yeah. And with that, it is moms, dads, busy professionals that want to come in, they want to get a great workout, and they want to go home, right? Do they care about putting 500 pounds on their back and squatting them? Not really. Right. But do we have some of those? Do we have people that love to lift? Absolutely. Can we cater to that? Absolutely we can. But who we work with is, they want to get a great workout. They want to get results. They want to go home and go home safe, right? Yeah. So our approach is in that manner, right? Hey, we're going to be safe first. All right. Then we're going to tailor the workouts and really individualize it as much as we possibly can. That's why we keep our classes small, right? Yeah. So, with CrossFit gyms, you're kind of there's some great ones and then there aren't some good ones, kind of like with anything, right? But you're at the mercy of the programming of the box owner, right? For most of them. Some places you're going to be one coach and 40 people, right? Yeah. Some places you may be one coach and, one-on-one, right? Yeah. But there's not a lot of structure across the brand. 100%. Where with Iron Tribe, it's structured across the brand. Your sessions are max of 16. You know what you're going to get. Like we have an app that we utilize to register, and you can able to see the movements that you're going to be doing for that day. Like we have over 1,000 videos in our log of all the movements, so you can kind of prep. And then it goes back to the coaches. So our coaches, they are professionals. This is all they do. Yeah. So they don't have other jobs, right? Yeah. And if you train in the afternoons, you're going to be with Macy, right? You talk with Macy. If you miss, guess what? Hey, Clark, where you at, man? You know what I mean? 100%. So a lot of accountability built in. So I would say a big separator is the relationships that we have with everybody in the gym, and we keep it small for a very specific reason, is because I want you to know and feel comfortable when you walk in the doors as a client. Your coach is going to know you. They're going to know what you're good at. They're going to know what you're struggling at, and they're going to be able to tailor that workout to you. Yeah. Right? So that's the biggest separator, right, between the brands. And
I think, it is interesting that the accountability side. Like, I don't think I've been in a class yet since May that's maybe even been over 8 people. Yeah. Yep. And that's and that was the biggest thing for me, is like I didn't like the idea of going to the gym because I didn't know what I was doing. Yep. Like I would go and just kind of do the motions that I thought was the right motions, and then just not really get any results from it, and then get tired of doing it. And that atmosphere was never really for me. That's why running was kind of that thing, because it's like I can do it by myself and I'm alone. But then it's like, even in the workouts, like if there's 4 or 5 other people in there, I almost still feel like I'm just by myself, but also like I can look around and see everyone else is dealing with the same, like they're struggling just as hard as I am to get this workout, or those wall balls we did on Monday are really killing me today. Right. Yeah. Like I think I worked out Monday and Tuesday this week, and Monday was like 80. We did 100 wall balls on Monday, and then we did like a 10 rounds of a workout on Tuesday, and my legs on Wednesday were just fried. Yeah. And it's like, but it's like there's people in the class that I'm going to be at today that did those workouts with me too. Right. And they're going through the same thing, which I think is a huge part of the accountability. And it's like you said, like, with my office being here, and if I don't go to a workout, Macy is for sure going to say, "Hey, Clark, where are you going? I thought you were coming to workout." "Well, I'm running to a meeting." "Well, you can come after that." "Well, it's like, it's not 3:15. "Well, you can come to a workout that's not at 3:15. That's right. It's well, I could. And then so it's a lot of that accountability where like you kind of, with the flexibility of your scheduling, you're able to really find a time on certain days that work best. Like if the morning is what you want, you have the morning classes. If the afternoon is what you want, they have those. If middle of the day is perfect for you on your lunch break, you have that option too. Yeah. Yeah. And so thinking over this over the 10 years, is there a few sort of like athletes that have been with you over the 10 years, and kind of like, what's it like seeing their journey over 10 years working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were actually talking about this in our team meeting. So I think between the 2 gyms, we have 6 or 7 that have been with us 9+ years. Wow. One of them actually trains in the morning. His name's George. And George is a runner. Okay. Right? Kind of like you. Needed a lot of help in strength training, right? And was kind of picking up injuries along his running career, and he needed strength training. There's a lot of runners, they don't like strength train. Yeah, they want to get out and run, right? So, and we got in, started working with George, and started working with his mobility and a lot of different things. And this is now his routine. Is he comes 3 days a week, and he still runs, but he's now injury free. Yeah. Right. George does not care how much weight he puts on the bar, and that's perfectly fine. Right. And that's the way, and that's the beauty of it, is we can, our trainers tailor it to what you specifically want. I've got another gentleman, I think Greg's been with us almost 8 years. And he tells me all the time, he's like, Blair, this thing, Iron Tribe changed my life. Yeah. And that's in our core values. Like that's what we do. Like we build fitness communities that change lives. And to see people and talk with them that have been through all of the changes, even as a brand, right? Over the 10 years now, it's cool to sit down and have coffee with them and say, hey, do you remember when we were back here and doing this? And do you remember when we did that? That was a horrible idea. And they're like, yeah, Blair, that was a horrible idea. But it's fun. On average, most of our people and clientele stays 2+ years. Wow. Okay, so it's kind of unheard of in the fitness industry, but it's a testament to how much our coaches and our trainers really care about our clients.
And I mean, y'all do a lot of stuff beyond just the fitness training, like with the workouts to kind of help people with nutrition and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about some of the other elements that Iron Tribe is really it's part of the brand, where it's not just, hey, you come and work out and you leave. There is that, hey, if you want some nutrition support, there's that. If you want the protein support, if there's that. Talk a little bit about kind of what that is, what are some of the other things that y'all have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to individualize it, right? Putting people in a box is not successful because everybody's different. Yeah. Your lifestyle is different than my lifestyle. That's different than so-and-so's lifestyle. And nutrition needs to be handled that way, right? A single mom with 3 kids, they're gonna have to eat differently and prepare differently than a mom and a dad with no kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or a husband and wife, or mom and a dad with no kids. A husband and wife with no kids. So we really try to individualize that, and nutrition is a huge part of the program. Whether you're trying to put on muscle, whether you're trying to lose weight, it's going to boil down to what you eat. Also, what we do is we're big at giving back to the community. So we hold a couple of big different charities throughout the year. So we do a 5K in the fall where we raise money for Lindsay Lane Christian School out in Athens. Okay. It's for their School of Specialized Learners, and basically what that does is all that money goes into help children with disabilities of Down syndrome, to be in an inclusive atmosphere and pay for those teachers to come in. Wow. Instead of them having to be in a separate classroom. Yeah. So last year we raised I think we did almost $20,000 last year. Wow. Then we do a brand-wide one called Workout for Water, and that's where we work with a company called Never Thirst, and they go over and build freshwater wells overseas in Cambodia, Sudan, and India, and tie fresh water with the gospel. Right? Oh wow! So that I think we've done that. We did it every year up until the COVID years, and we just started back in Huntsville alone in Madison. We've raised almost $20,000 over the years in that. So big about giving back to the community. And we also have community events. We just went to a trash bandits game. That was a lot of fun. So so it's so much more than just working out. It's more than a gym. I mean, it's a tribe family. We call it a tribe family because that's the atmosphere. It's much more than just, hey, working out. So
thinking about this, this 10-year journey with you being an entrepreneur, having these 2 locations, having Huntsville, having the Madison location, managing it, growing it, seeing it succeed over the last couple of years. What are some of the goals you have for the company now, for the Huntsville location and the Madison location, looking at the rest of the year as we're recording this on August 24th, as well as with maybe some longer-term goals in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah. So the biggest goal is to get the stigma that, I can't do Iron Tribe. Yeah. Right? I hear that a lot. I can't do that. That's too intense. I want to break that stigma because anybody can do this. 100%. Anybody can do that. And we have the programs to be able to provide that. There are some programs where, hey, they might physically can't do that. Yeah. Now we have that, right? So we have that. So that's a big thing. We're at about 60% full at both locations, right? Because we like to keep it intimate. Yeah. So I'd probably like to add another 10 to 15%, close that gap. Big long-term goals. Eventually, I would like to have a 3rd location. Really? Here, yeah.
And then, in the is there an idea of hey, you have the Huntsville, you have the Madison. Mm-hmm. Is there an idea for hey, is it Hampton Cove? Is it South Huntsville? Is
right.
it is there any of that already going?
It's not going yet.
Okay.
But we're exploring.
Okay.
Right. With the growth of Huntsville, with the team that I have now, we've got a lot of the foundation to grow. So Hampton Cove, South Huntsville, we're exploring areas, but ultimately I would like to have 3 in the next by 5 years. That would be my long-term goal. So
you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you've always kind of had an entrepreneurial sort of ick to like do something, start something. Was that something that you think you've always had growing up, or did that sort of like did that switch flip at some point in your life, either in college, post college? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I don't know if I was always kind of bucked rules. Does that make sense? So like I never was the best rule follower, right? And I think to be an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be like, hey, I'm going to go and do this, maybe my way, right? It's funny, I can tell myself. So in my previous career, I always had to wear a tie. They used to make me wear a tie in the office, and I was dealing with contractors in Alabama and going on job sites. Well, I would not wear my tie. And I would just tell my boss, hey, look, I'm going to deal with contractors on the, and we're talking, and we're in Alabama, and I'm not going to wear a suit and tie to go in and talk.
It's a little hot outside.
It's a little hot outside, and I'm going to walk in and be like salesman. You know what I mean? And like, it's more than that. So I think as I spent more time in the corporate world, I began to realize, okay, I don't want to just climb the corporate ladder. Like I want to do something. And being a client with Iron Tribe for a couple of years, and it really changing my life and getting me in the best physical shape that I've ever been in, even stronger and more explosive and than I was in college.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can get behind that. The brand and the concept was already built. Now I just get to go run the company.
Yeah. So thinking of this 10-year journey with Iron Tribe, what's a lesson that you know now in the business, like a business lesson, an advice you'd give to somebody that you know now that you wish someone would have told you when you first started?
Oh man, there's so many. Surround yourself with a team. That's my biggest thing. I think, and allow them to feed into your business. Early on, it was my way. I'm like, hey, we're going to go this way. We're going to do this way. And I did not get a lot of input from my team. Mm-hmm. I just made the decision because, hey, this is my company. This is the way we're going to go.
Yeah.
Over the as I continue to develop and grow and get older and wiser, now before any big decision is made, if it affects them, I'm getting their input.
Yeah.
And we sit down and we discuss it and we say, okay, hey, I want to go this direction. This is how it's going to impact you guys. I want honest feedback.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. If you don't like it, tell me, Blair, I don't like this. If you're like, man, this is the greatest thing ever, tell me that. If you would tweak it, let's tweak it. Right?
Yeah.
So my team understands that I have an open door policy, and we're going to sit down and discuss all of these things because it's going to impact them. I think that is how we have had the retention that we have had with our team. Like I've got 3 people that have been with me 5+ years.
Yeah.
Right. And in the fitness industry, that's unheard of.
Wow.
Right? You just don't see that. It's a very transient industry. So if I were to go back to myself and be like, hey, listen to these guys because, they're the product. My team is the product. They are the who's running this company. And get their impact.
Yeah,
get their input.
I think there's someone was telling me recently, it's there's no golden ticket you get if you do it all by yourself.
Correct.
You don't get to the 10-year mark and say, well, you did the last 10 years by yourself and you bootstrapped it all by yourself, and congratulations, here's an extra $1 million to go crazy with. It's like there's none of that happening. Yeah. So why not start at year 1 or year 2 or even in the first 6 months of this new idea that someone could be listening and have this, I want to start my own company or do something. Like there's people out there that have done it before and have some advice. Reach out, like ask them questions, because at the end of the day, like if anything, they can, rather than almost not even just telling you, hey, here's what you should do, or here's what you do to be successful, they can tell you things of, hey, don't do this or avoid this.
That's right.
And those are almost bigger assets and bigger advice than telling you what you should do.
No, absolutely. And we have blind spots.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the biggest thing I think as individuals, you don't see yourself. Other people see you, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're starting a company and things like that, like I'm very much a visionary. Like I think big picture and where we're going to go, and we're going to do these things, when it comes to integrating it and getting it in and on the boots on the ground and things like that. That's not my strong suit. Now I've had to learn how to do that
100%.
but I've also surrounded myself with people that they can say, okay, Blair, we see your vision. All right, now think about this step and this step and this step. And they're able to help me prioritize and break down the processes of, okay, now how do we implement this, right? And so that's a big thing is, if you are an individual starting a new company, look in the mirror, identify your weaknesses, and then either be coached by somebody, right? And so go get a coach and say, hey, okay, here's how you need to work on it, or find a partner that's different than you are.
Yeah, because I think as a business owner, you're wearing 12 different hats at all times. You're taking off one hat, you're putting on another hat. Right. Sometimes you're wearing multiple hats at the same time.
Yep.
And there's a lot of hats you wear. You probably wear now that you knew very little about when you started. But sometimes that hat you wear now might be one of your strongest hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like I said, like you mentioned earlier, surrounding yourself with people that have the other hats that they can wear that help you grow, that they're better at. Because if you hire someone that's better at something than you, it's not necessarily I should be watching out, they might take my job. It's, hey, I can learn how they do it and implement that to what I do.
Absolutely.
And I think that's often a misconception.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening and they want to get introduced to Iron Tribe, they want to come by, they want to check it out, they want to get started, all of that good stuff. Where can they find you? What is the next steps they can take?
Yeah, the easiest way is either you can stop by the location. So we're here at Lincoln Mill for the Huntsville location. We're on the public shopping center on County Line Road. Pop your head in. If you want information on our programs and the ins and outs of who we are and what we do, irontribehuntsville.com or irontribemadison.com. So we got 2 locations, so separate websites. That's the easiest way. A lot of details. You can also schedule a free consultation on the website as well. It'll put your information in, and then myself or my manager out in Madison will reach out to you and we'll get you in to sit down.
Yeah, so we'll have all of their information in the episode notes, so all the links to all their websites and locations and everything like that. But I appreciate you taking the last 30 plus minutes talking with me about Iron Tribe, and I continue to look forward to the success that Iron Tribe will have in Huntsville and Madison, and potentially even a third location here in the Huntsville area.
Absolutely.
Over the next years and just the success you'll continue to have. So thanks so much for being here.
Hey man, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks.